If you're a gem geek like I am, you would love to visit a mine. But there are a couple things that you need to remember in order to ensure your safety and comfort during your mine visit experience. First and foremost, let's talk about clothing. It's really important that you put fashion on hold while you dress in old, comfortable clothing that you don't mind getting dirty. If you're like me, you'll prefer wearing a long sleeve shirt, even in summertime. It's not actually that hot if you're wearing a cotton one like I have on, and it's important to protect your arms from scratches or abrasions that you may incur during your mining experience. Secondly, I would recommend, even in summertime, some sturdy jeans. 2 insider tips from me to you. Number 1, wear socks. Whether you're wearing tennis shoes or galoshes, it's very important. I feel your feet will thank you for the comfort of wearing socks. Also remember that mines will prevent you from entering their premises if you're wearing open-toed shoes. So always sturdy athletic shoes or galoshes. Now, the other thing, leave this guy at home. You don't want to bring anything valuable, anything that you would be upset if you lost it, broke it, scratched it, or damaged it in any way. Christopher will tell you that he was mining one time and actually found 1 diamond stud earring. So somebody's walking around with just 1 diamond stud in their ears. Don't let that happen to you. If you do need to wear a wedding band, make it a cheap plastic one, maybe some metal, low profile for sure. Now that we've discussed our clothing a little bit, let's go shopping for tools. Now, the first thing that you're gonna need when you're going mining is, in my opinion, a shovel. To be honest with you, I don't use a shovel all the time, but I like to have one with me just in case I want to move big piles of dirt, aka tailings, out of my way. And that's common if you're going on an open to the public dig. They'll let you come look through their tailings or the discard piles. So it's a great way to move a lot of dirt at one time. So have to be very careful if you are using a big one that you want to, not dig in with too much force because you don't want to accidentally damage a crystal that's hiding underneath the ground. So I'm going to recommend like a very smooth push on that. I would also tell you that this is almost taller than I am. I prefer like a little handheld one. To me is a little bit better, especially because we're often working on our knees in a sort of small confined space. This might actually be a little bit more versatile for you. If you're actually going to a commercial mine, one that produces gemstones, rough specimens, and crystals, you may want to prepare yourself in case you're actually slamming open boulders or geodes. Now, when it comes to, say, your sledgehammer, a lot of it is going to be about what you personally can lift. So, this one for me, you don't want to really hurt yourself, okay? So this one's probably a little bit heavy, and this is actually just a 4.5 pounder, right? But it gives you a nice arc because it has this long pole attached to it, long handle attached to it. Of course, if you're going to be a manly man, they make them a 10 pounder like this. I've actually seen Director Shane use a 16 pounder last time we went mining together. But again, you have to be careful not to injure yourself. The heavier you get, kind of the more risk of injury. So know your own limits. This is great because it's handheld. You can really move it upward. You can move it downward. It doesn't have that long pole to restrict you to an open space. You could use this inside of a tunnel or a hole that you've dug. Another option for you instead of a sledgehammer might be a pickaxe like this one. And what I do like about this, first of all, it's going to be a little bit lighter weight than your sledgehammer to give you that same arc of motion. Plus, you've got a really flat edge on this side and a super duper sharp one over here as well. So you've got a variety of uses for this instrument. Sometimes when you're mining, you kind of wish that somebody would give you a hand. I have found that wearing gloves while I mine really protects my hands from the scratches, abrasions, that kind of thing that can happen while you're mining, and it gives you a better grip on your tools as well, so that you kind of aren't going to develop any blisters or anything that would cause you to have to stop mining early. There are a whole bunch of different gloves available at any big box store. These, I would say, are a little bit too thin. These are sort of like your standard gardening gloves or reusable dishwashing gloves. Those are a little bit too thin. I would maybe recommend something with a bit of padding, maybe some rubber grips on the tips here. Definitely paying attention to what size you grab is super important. There's a variety of price points when it comes to gloves. Just grab the cheapest pair that you feel are comfortable. Go ahead and try them on in the store, kind of maybe utilize a hammer or a screwdriver to see how that would feel in your hand. As long as you like the grip, it doesn't matter what kind or what brand you choose. One of my favorite things to bring with me when I go mining is safety glasses. And while they're not essential, I feel they're really important for protecting your eyes, not only from like some of the dust and dirt that might hit them, but if you're mining upwards, say into like the ceiling of a cave or an overhang that you've dug out, it's really important to protect yourself from falling rocks, pebbles, detritus. Now, I prefer the totally clear version, the colorless version. I think it's important because with this yellow color, I actually feel like that is going to hinder you from one of the most important ways of determining whether or not a specimen is one that you should take home with you, and that is color, right? Your hue, saturation, tone, all these things get a little bit warped when you're looking through a colored lens. So I maybe wouldn't do that. However, if you're mining out on a sunny day, I noticed that they've started making these sunglass safety goggle hybrids, and I think I'm gonna have to invest in a pair of those, especially if you're doing some mining outdoors in the summertime. I feel can really help you while you're mining is a flashlight. And whether you're getting a big one like this that you just happen to have in your home, or whether you're gonna get one of those special incandescent to LED light bulb changes, either one can help you in a number of ways. So first of all, of course, if you're digging deep down into a hole, it's nice to be able to look in there and illuminate it to really show you what you're looking at and how far that hole might go down. Secondly, of course, with that incandescent and LED function, that means that you can check for color change, which is sometimes important with garnet, alexandrite, a couple of other gemstones like fluorite, which can add to the value of a mineral specimen when you pull it out of the ground. So definitely a flashlight can be very helpful. A screwdriver can be a great way, once you've kind of located a specimen, to dig around it and free the specimen without really getting too close. You're almost using this as a mini crowbar in a way, but a screwdriver can actually be used for a lot of different functions, and it kind of depends on your size, which is why when I go mining, I've got a big kit like this that has a bunch of different sizes and heads available, including some of these really, really small ones, which I feel are great for really getting in there and sort of digging the specimen out without getting near the crystal. The single mining tool that I use the most when I go and visit a mine is a hammer. Now, any old hammer will probably do. You could grab one from your toolkit at home, but I would especially recommend one that has a big head on the front and then has this almost pickaxe-like prongs on the back. And I use this back end a lot when it comes to sort of freeing up earth. I do actually really like the rubber grip. I feel like that's really helpful after an entire day, particularly if you're using those rubber tipped gloves. It kind of gives you a really nice firm hold that means that you're not going to accidentally hurt a specimen, and you're going to be able to mine longer because it's more comfortable. For splitting open big boulders or geodes, a nice chisel might come in handy. And I would also recommend a crowbar. Just a small one like this would work perfectly to really pry out or wedge out bigger rocks to get to some of the crystals that might be hiding behind it. highly recommend, actually, the last time I went out mining, I used some knee pads, and it really made the whole experience so much better. You realize that you're kind of on your knees a lot, whether you're kind of hammering upward or you're down on the ground sorting through some of the buckets of material that you've picked up. So I highly recommend it. I found a couple of different kinds here at the big box store, and I say just go with the least expensive. These happen to be washable, which might be a good idea. It's going to be about the same level of smushiness, of comfort, so it's really personal preference. Just remember, when you're putting them on, you want the rounded part facing downward on your knee. One of the tools that I think is most helpful when it comes to looking at what you're pulling out of the earth is a small paintbrush. And I think it's really important. Doesn't matter, you know, don't spend a lot on this because you're getting it dirty anyway. But I think this can be really useful for cleaning up a specimen to see what you have, both while you're mining and afterwards. Essentially, all you really need to look for, first of all, really narrow, because that helps you get into all those nooks and crannies to clean them out. Secondly, I prefer something with a really flexible brush, right, where you can really get in there without harming the specimen in any way. Let's talk for a minute about cleaning up your specimens once you get home. The rule of thumb that I always like to follow is soak them either in the sink or the bathtub overnight. Just let the water do most of the scrubbing for you. And then what I would recommend, grabbing one of these rubber gloves with a very gentle and discerning hand. Maybe a grout scrubber like this, where you can really get up in there. And remember, it's going to depend on what you're mining for and its hardness to ensure that you're not scratching any crystals. But certainly, this works for stubborn stuff, stubborn mud stuck on there. I would also recommend taking it to your local Gem and Mineral Society if you're having trouble truly cleaning the specimen, or if you'd like to reshape the specimen to make it display better. They can treat it with acid in order to help that last little coating of grime come off, as well as use a special saw to resize and reshape your specimen. There are a couple reasons why this tarp may actually help you while you're mining. Number one, it would be great to lay down in front of you just to keep your clothes a little and materials a little bit cleaner. But number two, it could actually help you to kind of pull up some dirt out of the earth or from a hole that you're digging and spread it out onto a different color so that you can really start to look through and see if you found any crystals in it. So that's something you definitely might need. And perhaps even more importantly, how about a bucket? I think this is really important. That way you don't have to go back and forth. You have somewhere to put some of the specimens that you find. Now, wrapping up your specimens in order to preserve them, I would recommend either newspaper, or my personal favorite way is actually using dry cleaning wrapping. You know how it comes in that clear plastic cover? That is perfect for smushing up in between delicate crystal faces to preserve the product as much as possible. But this is generally what I do when I find anything, whether, you know, sometimes it's so covered in dirt or mud you can't really tell if you have something special. Maybe you have a rock that you want to break open later. I just throw everything in my bucket and then I sort through it at the end of the day. Lastly, you may want a way to keep all your tools together. So whenever you have the opportunity to go mining, you simply grab your kit and you're ready to go. There's one more tool that I consider my secret weapon, and it's one that you may not be able to get in your local hardware store. It's chopsticks. In addition to providing an excellent excuse to go out for a nice Asian meal, these are essential for trying to remove, isolate, and clean a mineral specimen without scratching or hurting the crystal faces. Usually these are made of wood. Plastic would work just fine too, but both of those are going to be softer than any of the mineral specimens that we're after when we go mining. So that's my pro tip for you. I would also recommend some extra pieces of clothing like really important to not only shade your face, but again, like our safety goggles, protect our face from some of the dirt and pebbles that may crumble down on us, particularly if you're mining in a cave situation or a mine shaft. Also, I've got my sunglasses here. Additionally, protecting yourself from the sun is super important, whether you're using this kind of sunscreen, or you're using the squeezy kind of sunscreen, or if you're pale and pasty like I am, the industrial size pump tube of sunscreen. It's really important to protect yourself while you're outdoors. Speaking of the intense sun, I would recommend carrying some water with you, and honestly, you can never have enough water if it was up to me. Oh no! Hey, yo, can I get a towel up in here? That's right, a towel is another great thing to bring with you when you're going mining. Really, really versatile item to have with you. And of course, don't forget to pack a change of clothes. Your upholstery is gonna thank you if you're driving home after getting all dirty at the mine all day. Now, there are just a few more things that I feel are not essential, but will make your mining experience that much better. It's this canopy. You could bring a canopy to give you some shade and a nice place to cool off in between mining, maybe while you're sorting through and cleaning some of your specimens. And I would recommend a folding chair. This one only cost me $5 at one of those big box stores, and it is a great idea to be able to take the weight off and sit down. Also be protected from some of the dirt and the critters that we often find out when we're mining. So thank you so much for joining me. If you'd like more information about loose gemstones, mineral specimens, or mining, visit us at JTV Gems or my Facebook page, or you can visit jtv.com/extra. Good luck out there and happy hunting.